Hello there, welcome to this training. My name is Ollie Henson, and I've put this video training together to give you a real deep dive into what you can do and what practices you can use to help you attract your dream partner. Okay, none of the superficial stuff, no second guessing, no trying to randomly visualize or affirm or do scripting or gratitude journals. I'm going to get into the psychology of this, the neuroscience of it, and take you through a practice which you can use to help you attract your partner. So this is going to be super helpful if you're someone who has been in the mode of trying to find relationship, right? And maybe you feel like you've got these doubts, this overthinking, maybe you feel like you're too attached even though you know you shouldn't be, and you want to something to do every single day that starts to change you internally, and as a result your external world then starts to improve. So if that is you, you're in the right place. Okay, so this is about attracting your dream partner, not to show off, but this is me here with my beautiful wife Jules, and I'm going to take you through the processes that I used every single day to before we met, as we met, and then during our relationship now. I still continue these practices to make each day incredible. Right now, this is not to say that things don't get tough. We have been through some tough situations, but when you're with your person, it is so much easier to do this when you are connected, right? And you do it together rather than feeling like there's no support and it's all fractured. So this is what I'm going to take you through what I did. And this is not about visualizing, affirming, or scripting. We're going to talk about rewriting the subconscious programs blocking love and to finally make it happen for you. Okay? So, this is for you. If you have been trying lots of different practices, reading lots of books, tried lots of manifestation practices and everything else, but are still single, you're still watching everyone else find love around you, and you're wondering, like, what are you missing? What am I missing? Why is this not working for me? Now, just as a caveat to this, my wife works remotely next door, and we have to do this, ironically, in the same space. If you hear someone talking, that's my wife on her work calls. So, who am I? This is me over here, and one of my probably only decent side profile photos, but with my lovely Jules. And this is the practice that I used. Okay, just to reaffirm this, this is not based on like me being, single and lonely and desperate. I am incredibly grateful, but I did the work to get into this position. So this is the part I want to focus on, which we're going to dive into. The problem, which is probably where you're at right now, because you're thinking, what am I doing wrong? Like, I feel like I've been, journaling, I've done the work, maybe you've been to therapy and you try to release a load of stuff, you've done maybe somatic healing. I don't know. There's probably a million different things that you've tried. But this thing I'm going to cover is going to get to the core of what the main thing is. And I changed this in myself. My community members that I work with are changing this themselves too. And it makes all the difference. Okay. This real problem, the psychologist term for this, very technical, is internal working models, which essentially means the subconscious programs that are blocking you from attracting and enjoying your most perfect relationship. Let me explain. These internal working models, we pick them up in childhood, and essentially they are how we perceive relationships. So they're how we see relationships and people in relationships, and how also we think people see us in relationships, right? So it's almost like this lens that we put in front of us, and it's how we see everyone. We see it through this lens. This is what we've picked up, and they see us through this lens. So if we keep seeing through the same lens that, oh, maybe I'm just not good enough, maybe I'm not worthy, um, maybe I need to like do more to keep this relationship going, maybe I need to take care of them more and make sure they're emotionally okay, or maybe I don't want to. Maybe getting close is going to be dangerous. Maybe I'm going to get abandoned again. Right? This belief is almost like this lens that's in front of us. So we see people through it, and we see also how they see us. So it's super important. And the most important thing I can get across here is that this is tied to your identity, okay, your subconscious identity. And your identity is way more powerful. So, in terms of how you see the world and how you think people see you, is a much more powerful thing to shift than trying to change consciously your actions, right? Or trying to consciously change your thoughts, or trying to consciously change your emotions and your behaviors. Because your emotions and your behaviors and the actions that you take and the thoughts that you have are driven by your identity. So, for example, many years ago, I ran a remote personal training company, right? And working with thousands of people between 2016 and around 2022, this was an eye opening experience to see how people's identity would play into the results that they would get. Okay, so if people had previously been in really good shape and for themselves, where they felt like, I feel like I'm in really good shape, I feel good in clothes, etc., and they'd just been through a little bit of a blip where they'd been, busy at work and all this sort of stuff, they knew that they could be that version of themselves again, right? So they just needed the discipline and the accountability, and those people would get the results. The people that I really struggled to help, and I wish I'd known the stuff I know now because it would have been a complete game changer to help those folks, was people who would come in and say, look, I've always struggled with my weight. I am just someone who finds it easy to overeat. I've always been someone who struggled with exercise. Even at school, I really didn't enjoy exercise. I'm not really clued up on nutrition. I'm not good with nutrition. Notice how all these statements are tied to that person's identity. So they're incredibly powerful. And in this case, they were so damaging because it didn't matter what nutrition plan I gave them, it didn't matter what exercise program I gave them, it didn't even matter the holistic stuff that I tried to implement as like a broader way to help these people. Their identity, their subconscious identity that they built into them and had enforced into them in some cases through the environment they're in, through the parents that they had, through the relationships they had, through media, right? They essentially believe that that was who they were. So I tried a million different things and this identity was blocking it, right? If I give someone the best nutrition plan in the world that is perfectly tailored to them, but they feel like they're someone who's always struggled with their food, I can't, it doesn't matter how much they do it. And this would happen over and over and over again, where I'd create the program, I'd be, giving them really good accountability. We'd have these coaching calls. And with each one of these people who had this identity where they said, I'm just someone who's always struggled with my weight, it within the first couple of weeks, they'd be kind of on it and a little bit excited and they'd be back and forth saying, I feel a little bit better. Within 2 weeks, maybe to 4 weeks max, nearly every single one of these people would, the term is in the UK, would be falling off the wagon, where they'd say, "Oh, it's just not working for me. I can't do this. I don't know what it is. I'm just tired. I don't want to do it." And these people had already been through those cycles probably hundreds of times in their life, trying to sort out their issue with their weight and how they felt in clothes and how confident they felt, right? So take that into account now to every facet of life. We have an identity attached to it. The same with money, the same with relationships, in this case, that we're going through now. And the reason I'm making this content is because around relationships, I have been inundated with people who are wanting to attract a relationship. And I do get people who are super desperate and want an ex back and they want a text back from someone. I can't help those people because that desperation is people in the manifestation industry preying on desperation and like reaffirming to people that they need someone to fill a void, and that's just not how this works. If you attract someone like through desperation, you haven't filled the void, and when you're with them, that void is still there, so you're still going to end up pushing that person away, right? So this is why we need to change the identity. This is the deepest part of ourselves that we can adjust, that is going to make all the difference. Okay, so just an exercise that's really helpful. If you get the time, you can pause this video or do this after. Write down the different areas of your life that you think about, that you're involved in, right? So your health, wealth, relationships are sort of like the key ones, career, business. And just think about your own self image. Like, how do you perceive yourself? So if I said to you, how are you with money? Right? Would you say, I'm good with money? I've always had a good history with money. Yeah, money's always been easy for me to have. Or is it, I'm not very good with money. It always seems to like slip through my hands. I don't know what it is. It seems like something's against me. That's an identity. And do that for every area of your life. And notice you can almost pinpoint exactly and go like, okay, that is the thing that's been tripping me up. Okay. So we can build, I like adding the technical model to it and the psychology around it as well, because it makes things more definitive. So these internal working models are related to attachment theory, right? Which is just a human perception of these things that people keep struggling with. But they're really helpful to understand. So in my instance, right, making this a bit more relatable, mine was always, and we pick these beliefs up and we pick up these identities, these working models when we're kids. right? And I had an amazing childhood, right? Not everything was perfect, but I was very fortunate in a lot of ways. But I was always walking on eggshells. Don't know why, right? Can't explain how, but my thing was making sure that the sort of emotional state in the room was good. And then if that was good, then I could chill. I'd be like, I'm happy. Everything's going to work out okay. So I would either avoid really like high confrontational emotional situations. I'd want to just escape, or I would end up trying to like smooth everything over. And I wouldn't be happy until someone else was emotionally happy and then I could settle. And this played into my life massively across my more intimate relationships as I got older. Another thing as well, not to make this all about myself, but just so you can really relate to this, this is a true thing. I'd always struggled, like most people do when they're teenagers, talking to the opposite sex. Fair enough. But talking to girls and trying to feel confident was so difficult. I had really, really bad acne from the age of 11, 12 till 17, probably, like terrible. And I was massively self conscious. So I never saw myself as someone who could be attractive, right? I don't just even mean it wasn't a physical sense, but just in a general sense that I could be confident because I always felt that people were looking at me. So in my first proper relationships, as I went after that phase, when I met my first partner, there was always this sense of I wasn't good enough, right? So I felt like I had to do more to make sure that I was still going to be in that relationship. And I pretended that I was cool and I, faked it all and was trying to be like, yeah, I'm all cool. But there was this deep down, I need to like keep doing stuff to keep the relationship going because I'm not good enough. And we all have our stories. Every single person has these within their life and their experiences. Most people don't address them at all, even though there's a lot of people that try to, but they deal with the superficial stuff, right? By trying to change their behaviors. That's the first thing. Or I'm going to start running. I'm going to start dating. I don't care. I'm just going to do it. And that's really good for the initial fuel. And then it drops to, okay, maybe I need to change like how I'm thinking and my emotional state. And that's also powerful, but it doesn't yield the long-term results. So this is why I say with manifestation and visualization, it's manifestation is incredibly powerful, especially if it's attached to your identity and it's in alignment with it, right? So if you have the identity that you are financially abundant and you are wealthy, you're just like a wealthy person who's always successful, then when you use the tools to visualize, to affirm, and to feel, you're going to attract results into that and be able to maintain those results because it's linked to how you identify yourself. It's reinforcing that belief. If your identity and how you perceive wealth and money is that money is really evil, people use money for bad things, I've never really had money, it seems like something's against me, you can visualize till you're blue in the face and try to feel it. And even if you do, and this happened to me a few times where I actually got some really cool wins with stuff, but they just disappear. And I'd have to feel like I have to keep forcing and really work on my routine, right? My daily practice, that was the issue. And it wasn't the issue. It's just that all the work I was doing was not in alignment with my deep internal beliefs, these internal working models, and also my past, these experiences that had reinforced it. Okay, so if there's one thing to get from this video is that our internal working models, these labels and these identity and this self-image is the thing that if we can change this, we're in a really good spot. Okay? So this is the thing, especially with relationships. So just to give you some examples of beliefs that you can change. So for example, if one is like, I'm not worthy of love. I've spoken to many people. I spoke to one yesterday in my DMs and Instagram who said, I just don't think I'm worthy of love. And this lovely lady had a really incredible career. And she said, she's like, I'm not massively, I don't want to be egotistical, but I feel like I'm quite good looking and I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I just don't know if I don't know if I'm worthy of love. Maybe I don't deserve it. Maybe there's just not the guys out there that I want to be with. And it's really sad to see. But I said to her, look, can you just look at what you said to me in this chat? And just by reading that back, can you see where your self-image is and your identity is? And she's like, yes, I see it completely. I know this is what I need to change. All right. So, and then we got onto that. But this is the same. Okay. So some counter beliefs, which I was getting to, is if you feel like you're not worthy of love, you've got to get into your subconscious and rewire yourself that I am worthy of love. Okay. So, and then the instance of trying to walk on eggshells and keep your partner, whatever, emotionally in the right place, and then you feel good, which is something along the lines of people's emotions are not mine to manage, right? That doesn't mean that we completely ignore people, and I'm just reeling one off here. But that nature of I don't need to be constantly managing people's emotional state to be happy is a counter belief. This is what we have to wire in. And when we wire that in, like game changer, all of the thoughts that we have, the behaviors and the emotions we feel are in alignment with our identity, which is the thing we protect at all costs whilst we're here on this earth. So, this is the practice that I use, right? And I use every single day. And my community members who are doing this every single day use this. And I'm going to take you through how it works because you probably have that curiosity now as to, okay, well, how do I do this? And this is appropriate for anything you want to change in your life, but specifically right now in this video, and the people that I primarily work with are people who want to attract a long-term relationship. Okay. So these are the 4 steps. I'm going to take you through them. You can make notes on this as well. Please do. Regulate is the first one. Rewrite is the second. Remember is the third. And relive is the fourth. So the first step is by far the most important. If you try and jump into these steps, it won't work. The first step is regulating your nervous system and getting you into a state of balance, right? Mentally, physically, and emotionally. If we're trying to attract someone, one of the best things we can do is just get ourselves in a state where we're balanced mentally, physically, and emotionally, right? We're not in this fight or flight survival based system. We're not overthinking. We're not overly stimulated. We want to be balanced so we can show our true, authentic selves. Hugely important. And I'll talk about this, how this ties in a second. Then we want to rewrite the beliefs. I'm going to show you how this flows in a minute, okay? We want to rewrite the beliefs that we just covered. So if you're not worthy, we want to create beliefs that feel that we are worthy, like we are a person who is worthy. If we feel like people might abandon us, we need to create a sense of security in us around how we perceive people in relationships, right? People are good. And so even now when we say that, we might have it, well, they're not. But we have to create that filter because we'll naturally attract people into our world who are good. If we have the belief that people are not good, we're going to keep attracting the same people into our world, right? Despite our best intentions. So once we rewrite those beliefs, then this is where we can do the what people would say manifestation work or subconscious reprogramming. Then we can start to remember the qualities of the person we want to attract, as well as the qualities that we will bring to the relationship, right? It's not just about the other person, it's about us and them. So we can remember, okay, what do we want in the person? And also, what are we going to bring to the table? Perfect synergy, because we know that that will work. And then the final thing is reliving it emotionally. Okay, so we're then going to feel like we're already with this person. We already have our identity aligned with being in a healthy relationship. So that's not an issue. We're not going to have these contradicting thoughts and these doubts and like if it will happen. We are that person. And then we begin to remember the qualities, we remember them, and then we relive it emotionally. And there's a perfect alignment in that. But it starts with this step here, which most people can't do, especially in this day and age. And the people that make the change can regulate here because if you are able to regulate your nervous system properly, and I teach my clients and my members, and every day I use this practice and I teach heart coherence. So, heart coherence is a really powerful practice that you can use that will shift your heart's rhythm from a fight or flight. It's called a sympathetic heartbeat, where it's super stressed. And in that mode, when you're overthinking and you're doubting and you're worrying, right, and there's a lack of belief in yourself, just a little practice to shift your heart rhythm into this smooth, what you're seeing here, nice sine wave. As you keep doing that, your heart then sends a message to your brain. It slows down your brain waves. And more specifically, your amygdala, the stress center that it runs the stress centers within your brain, begins to sort of decrease in intensity. And your brainwave shift from this high beta and beta into alpha and then theta. And this is where you can do the good stuff. So you regulate your nervous system first, you get into your subconscious mind, then you install these new identity-based beliefs, right? These new working models based on a relationship. So I am worthy of love. I attract great people into my life. I'm open to relationships with new and better people. anything of this nature, which aligns with you based off the current problems that you're having, this will make all the difference. Okay. Then we remember the qualities in the person that we want to attract and also the qualities that we need to live by every single day to meet this person. And then we relive it emotionally over and over again. Very, very powerful, very, very cool. And I've put this into a simple daily meditation practice that rewrites your subconscious programs so that you can naturally attract your person. Right now, if you want, I've just put, you see here, step 6. If you want to find out more about the community where I teach this, it will just be linked in the description. Okay. This is, in summary, getting to the root cause. I want to save you the pain of another 6 months to a year, 2 years of trying to learn the right meditation or manifestation technique to attract a partner. Because I know you've probably done all the work. You've probably read the likes of maybe Neville Goddard, Joe Dispenza, Abraham Hicks. You're following people on Instagram, maybe watching videos on YouTube. Maybe you've taken courses, spent a lot of money on them, or with coaches. You're like, I don't know what's going on. Like, what is wrong with me? We've got to change the self-image. All right. And I hope that this video has now given you a direction as to, okay, if I focus on this thing based off my going back to childhood and changing that, things will change, which they will. I'm living proof of that. Okay. So as I said, the details to do this work with me, just as a caveat again to this, is that I'm not helping people, and I can't help people who desperately want an ex back, right? Or like just want a text, because I think that preys on desperation. I'm not a fan of it. If the ex was part of the relationship that you built and there was no attachment and you weren't thinking about them, awesome, right? But I really want to help people, if this is you, who want to attract a new relationship, their person that just works perfectly. And if you're willing to show up and do the work, you'll get this done in no time and you'll feel really good doing it. Okay, so hope that was helpful. And let me know if you like this form of content with these trainings, because I can do more of it based off your feedback. Take care. Speak soon.